Hey guys, my name is Abdullah and I just finished watching the second episode of Boku no Hero Academia, as we know in English, My Hero Academia. All in all, I think the second episode kind of further proved its point that it was trying to make about heroes being represented by the actions that they take and not the powers that they possess. Although that's what pop culture made us believe, that the powers that Spider-Man has are just the web-slinging things, but not his characteristics itself. Well, it's kind of the same with Boku no Hero Academia, but I'm going to take a more of an in-depth look at this after I give you a short recap of what happened in the latest episode of My Hero. Start off the episode where we got left off in the previous one, where Deku just gets the answer to the question that he asked All Might that could practically change his life. And unfortunately, the answer isn't what he wanted to hear. He was basically told by All Might that there's not a big chance of him being a hero without any superpowers, without any quirks, as the correct vocabulary for this show. And now this is an interesting part of the episode because he still can't accept that very easily. Although it's still sinking into his mind that his role model, the person he looked up to his whole life, ever since he was born, just told him that he cannot be a hero. It was very difficult for him to accept it, which could be a human nature thing, but it was interesting seeing Deku fight with that. But as it sunk in, he became more desperate. But within those short seconds, something very interesting started happening. All Might started struggling with his powers. He started falling down on the ground in pain and just transformed into his normal being. Now, Deku's reaction to this is kind of funny to me and sad because you just saw your role model, the person you thought that was the strongest man on the world, who is the symbolism of strength and heroes, just fall down in pain and transform into a being that you've never seen him as a skinny, long shirt wearing dude who's like has no muscle in him at all, and he's groaning in pain. Now this kind of shatters his dreams of being a hero like All Might, because All Might isn't exactly as he seems. He's not the smiling superhero that he's shown on the TV or the one he sees on the streets fighting the monsters. He's a real human being, and that's where I think it's interesting for Deku to understand that there's more to All Might than the powers he has, than the fighting techniques he uses against his enemies, against the other supervillains attacking Tokyo and the world. And this is important because again, this goes back to the fight, to the point that hey, this show is going to be about what heroes are and what they're made of, and that they're not all about having superpowers. And this is a very important moment in the show because it's a realization to our protagonist that what makes a hero isn't his powers, but the way he is. I'll continue that a little bit. I'll explain that a bit more near the end when it's important. So as he's All Might struggling in pain, he gets himself up and explains why he's weak. And apparently it happened because he was in a fight with a supervillain 5 years ago, and the supervillain just nearly defeated him, but All Might does not get defeated by punks, as in his own words. And the fight was kept away from public, and the public never knew about the struggle that All Might had to go through in that fight. So within that fight, because of that fight, his powers were destroyed in a way. He sustained so much damage to his body that he can't exactly control his superpowers anymore, and he can only be in hero mode for a couple hours a day and not that much time in the week. So his supply is low, but his demand is high in the streets, as we're gonna find out in a couple of seconds. As they're discussing this and parting ways because they have no relationship right now, but as they're parting ways, a huge explosion happens, and it's because the goo monster that was in the bottle that All Might had was dropped on the ground when Deku jumped on him during while he wanted to ask his question, and something special is happening. The goo monsters captured Midoriya, which is itself going to be interesting aspect, we're going to learn more about Midoriya in this episode. Now, Deku, realizing that he can't be a hero because it finally sunk in his head that his role model told him so. He doesn't want to go towards the explosion and view, hey, what are the superheroes doing? What are their moves? What are their superpowers? And collect it in his notebook that was burnt by those a-hole classmates of his. And the other side, All Might is struggling to, even in his normal human form, he's bleeding, but he's still trying to make way towards the explosion and see what's happening. And as Deku's walking home, he's in a trance that he actually ends up towards the explosion, and he sees the goo monster and realizes that the only reason all those people's lives are in danger and Midoriya's life is in danger is because of him and because of his immature act that he committed by grabbing onto All Might. Although it was a moment of desperation for him to change his life and gain some confidence, it was still immature of him. If you look at it from a normal, realistic point of view, which is the last thing you look at anime from. So now All Might's at the explosion, and Deku are at the explosion, and you see these two heroes struggling. Do they protect themselves, or they risk their lives and go save someone else's life? Now this is another. Remember in episode 1 when I said it's interesting that he cares more about Midoriya than he cares about himself, and Midoriya told him to go kill himself. This is another important moment of these superheroes, that to be the biggest superhero, you have to care about others more than yourself. And Deku does it. He starts running towards the goo monster in order to save Midoriya, and you see that passion within him. And All Might's surprised, all the superheroes are surprised, but they're also calling him an idiot for running because he's a little kid and he doesn't have any quirk. Not that they know of. So, as he's running and trying to clawing at the goo monster to free Midoriya, he actually manages to uncover Midoriya's face and let him breathe. But as the goo monster is gaining more strength and strength, he's about to take his goo hand and slam it on Deku, that someone comes and saves him, and that is All Might. At the end of the episode, both one potential hero and one official confirmed hero have proven themselves as true heroes, and they're not in this game for fame. They're here because they actually love saving lives and they value others more than themselves, you could say. Which is important, again, for the purpose this show is trying to prove, that anybody can be a hero as long as your actions speak louder than words, as long as you go for it from the heart as well. Now, at the end of the episode, although Deku did not get the type of interest that Midoriya got, because he kind of showed his quirk to the media, to the other superhumans, that he kind of got praised for it. But Deku, who actually showed some courage and tried to save someone's life, wasn't praised that much. He was actually scolded for just running into a dangerous zone. While All Might's covered by the media, and he's trying to explain himself and why he was late to the scene and all that. So at the end of the episode, Deku's walking home and Midoriya chases him. And we learn a bit about Midoriya. Midoriya doesn't like relying on himself. Maybe this is something to do with his family. Maybe it was a childhood scene. But he realizes that Deku was the more courage one, practically wanting to prove to himself that he was stronger than Deku. That he didn't need Deku's help. And he just said some rash things and ran off. Now, as the last couple of seconds of the episode rolled by, All Might makes his entrance and runs away from the media and talks to Deku that he was wrong about what a hero is, and that you don't need a special power to prove that, to save someone's life. Just like Deku tried today to save some lives, he can be a superhero, and he doesn't just need a quirk to tell him so. And that's where the episode ends off. And I believe all in all, this show is advancing and forwarding properly. Possibly the next episode could be horrible, or it could be the best episode of the show thus far. But I think many people were complaining nonsensically because they were saying that the show's very slow based on the first episode, but the first episode was based off of the first half of chapter 1, and the second episode is based off of the latter half of chapter 1. So we can't right now at all say that this show's speeding at a reasonable pace or speeding too slow or too fast, because we haven't seen enough. We had to get to episode 4 or 5 to realize how quickly these events are going to occur. But I think so far the adaptation from the manga to the anime is correct, because a lot of the people who I know who read the manga are saying that the anime is actually a very well adaptation, unlike Tokyo Ghoul, which is a good anime, but it was a bad adaptation of a very, very liked and adored series of manga chapters. So I end this here. Please like and subscribe if you loved the video. And do check out my other reviews and my manga haul video that I uploaded for the month of March. It was my most recent video, so have fun, enjoy, and take care. And please follow me on Twitter at Chewbacca Chef. If you like the username, that's a good reason to follow it.